Last episode saw the return of Fikayo Tomori back to Chelsea Football Club and a goal on his debut from new signing Moussa Diaby. But after a tough loss against arch-rivals Tottenham, today is the day Chelsea return to the Champions League. And as ever, if you're enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe. And let's get into today's episode. Now, after starting the season so well, that tough loss against Spurs has left us in 9th place in the league, albeit just 3 games into the new season. But something that's slightly more concerning is that of the performance of this man, Christopher Nkunku. Yes, he has chipped in with 2 assists so far, but with no goals to his name in 3 Premier League appearances for our former top goalscorer of last season. I've got to hope that his form starts to pick up as we continue the next few games. Similarly, another player who hasn't quite hit the ground running this season is that man Oyhan Sanset. He's one of my best midfielders. In fact, he is my best midfielder at 85 rated. But with no assists to his name so far this season, he's lost his place in the starting 11 to this man, Baumgartner. And having only scored 3 goals so far in the opening 3 games, as opposed to the team in West Ham who are top of the table with 9 goals to their name, you can clearly see that despite an incredibly highly rated attacking setup, we aren't quite hitting our stride so far this season. Moussa Diaby started off the season in absolute electric fashion, scoring 2 goals in his debut against Wolves, but since then, he hasn't quite hit the mark. In fact, his shooting has been wayward to say the least, and unfortunately it means that his average rating has dropped down to 6.87. And as for Jadon Sancho on the other side of midfield, 3 games, no goals, no assists, and only a 6.4 rating. His form from last season has fallen off a cliff, and he's another one of my attacking players who just isn't quite doing the business right now in our opening 3 games of the season. However, with so much football still yet to be played, I am going to keep faith with this team and hopefully see if they can start firing on all cylinders. But of course the pressure is on, because if they don't, I still have £139 million still left in my transfer budget, which if our form does not pick up over the next few months, I will not be afraid to use at the start of the January transfer window. And fortunately enough, after getting back on track with a late winner courtesy of Enzo Fernandez and an early goal from Christopher Nkunku for his first goal of the campaign, we do manage to rescue 3 points away from home against Bournemouth. And with that win lifting us up to 6th place in the Premier League table, now just 3 points behind Arsenal in top spot, we head into our very next game against a relegation-threatened Crystal Palace in high hopes that we can get 3 points in our first played game of the episode. I've made a few changes to my usual starting 11 whilst Costa keeps his place in goal. The likes of Malo Gusto, Tomori, Fofana and Maatsen make up my defence. Caicedo is partnered by Conor Gallagher in the centre of midfield, with Diaby, Sanset and Mudryk starting on the left-hand side, with Christopher Nkunku starting up front. It looks like Palace have gone with a 4-2-3-1 formation as well, with Sam Johnston, Ward, Anderson, Gay and Pedraza in defence, Decore, Lerma, Banks, Franca and Eze in midfield. And it will be the lone man, Jean-Philippe Mateta, who will start up front. Conor Gallagher into Moussa Diaby. Diaby tried to play a ball through to the on-rushing Malo Gusto, but couldn't quite reach him. And instead, now Palace will try and break away. It is that sole striker, Mateta, trying to get away from Tomori. Instead, cuts it back to Pedraza. Gets it back from him and tries to do the dance around Malo Gusto, but he's got the pace to keep the ball in play. Gusto into Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher tries to feed a ball through to Christopher Nkunku. Tried to lay it off to Diaby. It was a really poor ball from a man who's really struggling so far in this season, but Mudryk wins it high. Conor Gallagher feeds it back to Mudryk on his left. Mudryk off the bar, doesn't go past the line, tries to get the diving header, and Conor Gallagher sends it wide. The fans can't believe it. Roy Hodgson is delighted. Somehow it stays at 0-0. Sanset, desperate to get a foothold back into this Chelsea starting 11. He does start ahead of Baumgartner today as Mudryk picks up the ball in a dangerous position, dances around 2 defenders and strikes. Just goes wide. Ward under a bit of pressure here from the high press from Oyhan Sanset, but it's really nicely done from the Crystal Palace defence as they manage to get it clear, but only out as far as Moises Caicedo as he wins the ball back high into Mudryk, and Nkunku now finds it. He's going to try and put it across into Diaby. What a save from the goalkeeper. That is unbelievable, and it's a fabulous way to keep Palace on level terms here. Mudryk, it has been all Chelsea so far in this opening 33 minutes, until we go and give the ball away really cheaply, and now Crystal Palace can try and hit us on the counter-attack. It was a ball over the top. It was well read by Fofana, and now Ian Maatsen can break away into Oyhan Sanset. He finds Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher's to drive forward, strikes from distance, and Sam Johnston was able to get his hand on that one. Diaby will take the resulting corner, going to fire it into the penalty spot, looking for the head of Christopher Nkunku. It's cleared away though by Ward, the defender, only out as far as Ian Matson. We will have an opportunity to try and put this ball into the box, but instead I'm going to try and cut it back into the path of Oyhan Sanset, who gets his dribbling all wrong. And now Palace can try and break away yet again. And they do just that with Banks down this right-hand side. It's Tomori who tries to come across, and the former Chelsea man, back in a Chelsea shirt, does exactly what I require from him, and exactly why I brought him back here in the first place. Well, we start the second half here at Stamford Bridge, and the Chelsea players and the Chelsea fans have left scratching their heads. I cannot quite believe that we have gone into the start of this second half still at 0-0. Into Mudryk. Mudryk into Nkunku, turns really nicely. Nkunku feeds in Conor Gallagher on his right. Oh, the defender got there in the nick of time. And yet again, Palace have somehow managed to keep the ball out of the net. Matson into Mudryk, who's come deep, picks it up in a really nice pocket of space. Matson gets it back, cuts back into Oyhan Sanset, tries to shift it on his right, goes for a finesse, doesn't work. Diaby on his right this time, forwards to Caicedo. Mudryk now, I'm going to try and spray this one right the way out to Malo Gusto, fires a ball across to the back post, looking for Oyhan Sanset, goes over the bar. So Matson tries to cut it back into Moises Caicedo. He drives forward, finds Oyhan Sanset. Sanset to strike from distance, blazes it against the defender. Conor Gallagher wins it again though. Gusto to try and feed this one back into the box, deflects off the defender. Corner. We are pressing high here. Surely we are knocking on the door, and surely it's only a matter of time before we do manage to knock it down. But still, Crystal Palace keep us out. Diaby heads it down to Mudryk. Mudryk fires it across into the head of Anderson. He heads it clear. He's been an absolute rock at the back for Palace today. Caicedo into Mudryk. Mudryk's trying to ghost inside here. Finds Nkunku. He's got the on-rushing Diaby, who's found himself central, and he's almost being taken out there, but he still manages to keep hold of the ball. Diaby, lovely stuff into Nkunku. Nkunku into Gallagher. Gallagher to strike. Gallagher to score. A fabulous goal after a fabulous team move. Absolutely sensational build-up play. Diaby did the hard work, played it into Nkunku for his third assist of this campaign. And Conor Gallagher, on his first start of the campaign in the Premier League, fires his first goal into the back of the net. Finally past the Crystal Palace goalkeeper, and he celebrates in front of the home fans. It is 1-0 Chelsea. Now, Franca down the line for Crystal Palace. They're eager to try and get straight back into this game. Straight away, Elise. What a head, what a save. Well, from having absolutely no opportunities, Crystal Palace are all of a sudden in the ascendancy as they desperately try and get back into this game. It's fired across. Malo Gusto tried to win it. Costa was there in time, and eventually just manages to get us out of trouble. Eze now has it for Palace. They've got just under 10 minutes here to try and see if they can get back into this game. So far, so good though for us. We are holding firm, and we've got to hope if we can keep this clean sheet and take home a much needed 3 points. But Palace are just playing it around nicely on the edge of our half here. They can't seem to penetrate the lines. There was Anderson now has it. Nice pass into Elise. For the time that they have left, they're not really doing much with it. Instead, they just try and hump it forward. And in the end, Elise brings it forward. He gets it, plays it over to Eze. And it's a brilliant block from Malo Gusto. Madueke on as a substitute to bring it away. Into Nicholas Jackson, another substitute. I'm going to try and feed this into Oyhan Sanset. Can I try and feed a ball into Madueke? He was too tired. The tired legs couldn't get there in time. And Crystal Palace get it away as the referee blows for full time. Well, it was a hard-fought game, but it was a game that we more than deserved to win. I salute the support from the crowd. They were the 12th man. They were the ones that got us over the line. As at full time here at Stamford Bridge, it finishes Chelsea 1, Palace 0. A single strike from Gallagher was enough to separate the two teams. And whilst it doesn't lift us any higher in the Premier League, it does cut the gap to the top to just 2 points, as Wolves, Brentford and West Ham make up the top 3 in perhaps the most unbelievable start to a Premier League campaign. This man Conor Gallagher will be delighted to get his first goal of the campaign in his very first start of the season. And so those 2 back-to-back wins in our opening games of this episode comes at not only a good time to try and boost the morale of the squad, but is also the perfect way to pick up momentum ahead of what is going to be the start of our brand new Champions League campaign. We've actually been drawn in a pretty interesting group with the likes of Bayern Leverkusen, Galatasaray and Slavia Prague being the 3 other teams that make up Group B. But it is a group that we really should see ourselves progressing through. And so, of course, I have been greeted by the press ahead of what is going to be our biggest game of the campaign so far. And whilst the pressure is on to reach the Champions League final this season, I've got a lot of belief in this group of players, and I believe we've got enough to try and fulfill our goals this season. And we are going to hopefully start to do that at home in front of our own fans as we entertain Slavia Prague in our very first game back in the Champions League. It is a return to my starting 11 with the likes of Costa starting in goal, Reece James, Tomori and Chilwell at the back, the only replacement being Badiashile. He comes in for a slightly fatigued Fofana at the heart of my defence. Caicedo is partnered by Enzo Fernandez in midfield, with Moussa Diaby, Baumgartner and Sancho making up the attacking trio behind Christopher and Nkunku up front. Enzo Fernandez out wide to Moussa Diaby, who tries to cut inside but doesn't really have too many options. Going to try and look for the overlap of Reece James. I do find the overlap of Reece James. He cuts it inside looking for Enzo Fernandez. Goes past the defender into Nkunku, who was too slow and the goalkeeper came out. And that is a man who is slightly low on confidence at the moment. Nkunku wins it high up the field, gives it to Moises Caicedo. He finds Enzo Fernandez, shifts it onto his right, places it over to Mori. Into Enzo Fernandez. It's been a really positive start so far from the men in blue as Nkunku has it into Baumgartner. He shifts it onto his left. Lovely stuff. And he cuts it back across and gets the shot all wrong. Enzo Fernandez into Moussa Diaby, who's picked up a lovely pocket of space centrally, feeds in Nkunku. He cuts it back into Diaby, shifts it onto his left. What a strike, what a goal. Well, it's the first goal of our Champions League campaign and it's the first Champions League goal of that man's career. A fabulous piece of build-up play that Christopher Nkunku is yet again involved in. It's his 4th assist of the season. And what a strike from Moussa Diaby. I paid the big bucks for the Frenchman, and that is how he has repaid me. He celebrates wildly. It is Chelsea 1, Slavia Prague 0. Slavia Prague with a free kick here, tried to dink it over, but it's headed away by Jadon Sancho, who so far in this game has been pretty quiet. So far in the entire season has been pretty quiet. Enzo Fernandez tries to now feed into the goal scorer, Moussa Diaby, and he will now bring the ball forward. He looks for that man, Christopher Nkunku, gets the pass wrong. Christopher Nkunku can't seem to find his goal-scoring boots, but Baumgartner, in place of Oyhan Sansep, wins it high, finds Nkunku, shifts it onto his left, plays it back into Sancho. Unselfish play there yet again from the Frenchman, and this time it is the Englishman who is the beneficiary. A fabulous assist from Christopher Nkunku, and a wonderful goal from Jadon Sancho, the man who I said started the game in the season very quietly, but he was on hand to double our lead and get his first Champions League goal of this campaign. A fabulous goal and a fabulous way to put us 2-0 up here at Stamford Bridge. Nkunku into Caicedo, and as things are going so far, this could turn into an absolute rout. We are only 30 minutes into the game, and we are looking like we are going to take Slavia Prague to the cleaners here as Diaby cuts it back in for Enzo Fernandez, looking to get on the score sheet, blocked. Jadon Sancho, nice ball into Baumgartner. Baumgartner's going to try and release Moussa Diaby. Lovely stuff into Christopher Nkunku. Nkunku into Jadon Sancho. And Sancho for our third. It's Christopher Nkunku's 3rd assist of the game. It's that man's 2nd. And just like that, inside the opening 40 minutes, we have put clear daylight between ourselves and Slavia Prague. Yet again, another fabulous piece of team play and another fabulous goal from the Englishman. It is Chelsea 3, Slavia Prague 0. Sancho looking for the overlapping run of Ben Chilwell, and this is turning into an absolute carnage here as Moussa Diaby. Oh my word, I thought he was going to get his second and our 4th. But somehow he placed it against the bar, and Slavia Prague have got away with one, and they got away with one there. That was a horrendous challenge from behind as the referee blew for half-time, and somehow, some way, this game is only at 3-0 so far. De Ferris tries to go out wide to Jurasek. It's a nice pass, and he's got past Reece James here. He's trying to get back here to try and defend. Doesn't do a good enough job. It's thrown back in. Ben Chilwell wins the head. Caicedo wins the second ball. And now it's out to Jadon Sancho. He cuts inside for Christopher Nkunku. And Nkunku's going to try and lay it round the corner to Baumgartner. He does just that. Baumgartner now to drive into the box. Takes it onto his left. And that is a deft finish. It is 4-0. And we have picked up here at the start of this second half exactly as we finished off the first. It was more beautiful build-up play, and it is the 4th assist for Christopher Nkunku, but it was Baumgartner who did all the hard work. He just drove through the heart of the Slavia Prague defence, and look at the calmness and the composure to just slide it past the goalkeeper to give us a 4-0 lead. And Chilwell into Sancho into Baumgartner into Nkunku, and he will be desperate now to get on the score sheet. He's trying to drive into the box. Oh my word, it is just one goal after another. But arguably the man of the match so far in this game finally gets his goal. And once again, it was another driving run through the heart of their defence. This is turning into an absolute rout. A bullet of a strike from Christopher Nkunku gave the goalkeeper no chance, and their heads have dropped. Our heads are up. It is 5-0. Enzo Fernandez into Moussa Diaby. It's 5-0 here, and there's still 25 minutes remaining on the clock, and we look like the more likely to go ahead and score. We are completely opening them up here. Baumgartner into Nkunku. Good save from the goalkeeper. He did make a bit of a hash of it, but fortunately enough, he doesn't concede his 6th. Oh, nice ball into Wellham, and now, finally, Slavia Prague have got an opportunity, and in the end, they make a real hash of that one. They're going to have a corner. I believe it is their first corner of the game here. They're going to try and swing this one into the edge of the 6-yard box. It's headed away, only out as far as Dudera, who picks up the second ball. It's Zaferis, I think that's how you pronounce his name, goes past Shile, gets another corner. The Ferris will try, presumably, and try and float this one back into the 6-yard box again. This time it's Madueke as a sub trying to head it clear. And in the end, it's a looping header from the Slavia Prague attacker into the hands, the safe hands of Diogo Costa. That is Shile into Madueke. Madueke pays a bit of a loose pass, but in the end we do manage to keep hold of it. Levi Colwell on as a sub finds Caicedo into Enzo Fernandez. Fernandez is going to try and go all the way out wide to Reece James here. He cuts it back inside, looking for Enzo Fernandez again. Skips past the challenge really nicely and finds Levi Colwell into Conor Gallagher on as a sub. Strikes it with his left. Good save. And as the referee blows for full time here at Stamford Bridge, it is all smiles amongst the fans and players. What a way to return to the Champions League. A thumping victory here in front of our own fans. That man, Jadon Sancho, getting on the score sheet twice. As at full-time here, it finishes Chelsea 5, Slavia Prague 0. And well, look at the beaming smile on my face. I can be nothing but absolutely delighted with that performance today. People may say it was an easy win today, and for a lot of the Chelsea fans, it may have felt like Christmas, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and we did just that today. A fabulous way to start our Champions League campaign. 3 points on the board, but already 5 goals to our name and a +5 goal difference. Surely we are well on our way to topping this group. Nothing but incredible praise has to go to the performance of this young man, Christopher Nkunku. A tough start to life at the beginning of this season, but 4 assists in 1 game and a 10-star performance from him gets him back on track, and hopefully he can try and carry over that fabulous performance back into the Premier League. And speaking of the Premier League, it is time to switch our attention back to English football and try and see if we can climb back up the table and try and see if we can catch up to West Ham, who top the league. And as luck would have it, it is our East London rivals who we have up next at the London Stadium in what is going to be a colossal bout here in the heart of London. Some fatigue-induced changes have been made to my usual starting 11. Costa keeps his place, but Malo Gusto, Tomori, Fofana and Chilwell make up my back line. Conor Gallagher gets the captain's armband today in place of Reece James, and he partners Fernandez in midfield. Madueke makes his first start of the season in the Premier League, with Oyhan Sanset returning to the starting 11, as does Mudryk on the left-hand side. But of course, the main man, Christopher Nkunku, keeps his place up front. West Ham United have been firing on all cylinders here in this season with this 4-2-3-1 formation. Areola starts in goal. Kera starts at right back with Agurd and Mavropanis in the centre of defence. Rico Henry makes up the final man in the back line. Carvalho and Edson Alvarez start in midfield. Jared Bowen, Cornet and Paquetá start just behind Jonathan David, who leads the line up front for them. Well, here we go then. This is going to be a massive game here. West Ham has started off this Premier League campaign on absolute fire, and we are hoping to put this fire out in front of their home fans here and try and get a much needed 3 points to do our own work to try and climb back up to the Premier League table, at least into the Champions League spots. Fofana drills it out wide into the path of Ben Chilwell. He cuts back inside into Oyhan Sanset. Can't help but feel like we're going to have a much tougher game here today than we did against Slavia Prague in midweek. And that was a cross, actually, that was fired across from Malo Gusto, and he got it all wrong. And in the end, West Ham get it clear, but we do manage to win the ball back high up the pitch. Madueke now to try and drive down the right-hand side. He does just that. I'm going to try and cut this one back into the path of Malo Gusto. He finds Oyhan Sanset. He finds Conor Gallagher, who strikes with his left, straight against the defender. Gallagher into Sanset, who's dropped deep. Nice stuff from him. It finds Enzo Fernandez. I'm going to try and go out wide to Malo Gusto. Doesn't really have too much support from Madueke, but instead manages to go in alone and hold up the ball well on the right-hand side. Instead does eventually cut back to Madueke. Has the momentum just gone out of this attack here? I'm trying to find an option. Conor Gallagher going to try and fire it down the line into Ben Chilwell. He's going to try and float it across, looking for the head of Sanset. Instead, he tried to go for an acrobatic volley. West Ham hack it away again, though. It's been so far so good for Chelsea here. We've been all over West Ham. They have not threatened. They've barely got into our half so far in this opening 26 minutes here. And off the two teams, we look like the more likely to score, but we haven't managed to find the breakthrough yet. Enzo Fernandez, though, will try and do it. Instead, just fires it against Willem, who's been everywhere so far in this game. He's blocked pretty much every cross, every pass I've made. It's a good ball in. Madueke just over the bar. Fofana into Tomori. Tomori goes out wide, tried to go out wide to Ben Chilwell, but instead gave the ball away to Jared Bowen. He's being held up now, and Tomori comes across with a wonderful challenge. And now Mudryk is released into the path of Nkunku, who took it wonderfully. And Nkunku now to try and dink it over the goalkeeper. And in the end, Areola read it well, held his ground, and held hold of the ball. Rico Henry Plays it into Paquetá. Surely he's going to look for the overlapping run. Instead finds Maxwell Cornet. And Cornet now drives in. Where on earth are my defence? Costa comes out. What a piece of goalkeeping. Mori tried to dink this one over. Trying to find the head of Mudryk. But Jared Bowen wins it back. West Ham now starting to creep back into this game here. What a ball into the path of Jared Bowen. So far has been the danger man. And he drives into the box. Another big save. Cornet tries to drive away from Madueke. Instead cuts it back to Alvarez. Alvarez under a bit of pressure here as Madueke presses high and wins the ball back really well. Madueke just passes it just wide. Mavropanis out to Edson Alvarez. He goes out wide to Maxwell Cornet, but Enzo Fernandez well intercepted by the Argentinian, and now Madueke can try and drive away from the West Ham defenders, and he finds Malagusto on the overlap. Malagusto now to try and bring it forward. Lovely stuff here, going to try and dink it back across the box. Well defended there by West Ham. Enzo Fernandez wins the ball back high though. It's Oyhan Sunset to drive into the box. Strikes it with his left. Just wide. It's an Alvarez. West Ham ended up finishing the first half fairly well. They're going to look to try and do the same in the second with only 20 minutes remaining here. But Conor Gallagher now has it for Chelsea. Out to Moussa Diaby on as a substitute. He's got Ben Chilwell steaming up this left-hand side. And he manages to get away from the West Ham right back. Doesn't really have too many options though, so has to in the end wait for the rushing run of Moussa Diaby. Diaby now to try and cut it back into Nicholas Jackson, who strikes. What a strike. What a goal. When he's only just come on as a substitute for Christopher Nkunku. And my word, he has made his mark immediately. Lovely play from the two substitutes to combine. And what a finish from Nicholas Jackson to break the deadlock here at the London Stadium. A fabulous finish and a wonderful way to put us 1-0 up here. Lucas Paquetá out to Kudos, who's just come on as a substitute for West Ham. Going to try and drive past Malo Gusto, but he's done a really good job of winning the ball back, and now Madueke can try and streak away into Oyhan Sunset. Going to try and dink this one over into the path of Nicholas Jackson, but I got it all wrong. He does manage to come deep and win the ball back though. Now it's Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell finds Diaby. Diaby is just straight offside. Conor Gallagher into Madueke. Madueke's going to try and fire this one right the way over the top into Malo Gusto. It's a wonderful pass, and it's a first-time ball into the box here, and it's right into the path of Moussa Diaby. In the end, he did have to go backwards, though, to try and keep hold of the ball, and he does just that, though. Conor Gallagher goes short into Oyhan Sunset. He fires it back across, gets it all wrong, and Enrico Henry can try and streak away here for West Ham. He does manage to get away from Enzo Fernandez, but has he got the stamina and the speed and strength to keep going? Instead, he gets it to Lucas Paquetá, who gives it back to him. Rico Henry trying to drive down the left-hand side again, fires it across to the back post. Kudos with an acrobatic strike, and what a save from Costa in the dying minutes of the second half. Well, it's a West Ham corner. The goalkeeper is up. This is their last opportunity here. We are long past the allotted stoppage time. It's a poor corner. Matson heads it away. Madueke heads it away, and the referee blows for full time. It is another hard-fought game and another hard-fought victory. It's a 3 points here against the current Premier League leaders. That man Nicholas Jackson doing his job, coming on as a sub and making the difference. As his goal proved to be the difference today. It's West Ham 0, Chelsea 1. And super sub is the perfect way to describe the young man. There's no doubt that he struggled last season playing second fiddle to Christopher Nkunku, and bearing in mind that Christopher Nkunku is 89 rated and arguably my best player in my entire squad, there is going to be no doubt that he probably will be playing second fiddle this season. But a brilliant way to come on and do his position absolutely the world of good, coming on and scoring and doing exactly what is required of the young man. And not only does his goal drop West Ham down to second place off of top spot, it has brought us up to third place now, level on points with Brentford, who somehow find themselves in first. And after Nicholas Jackson was able to get on the score sheet once again as we managed to knock Rotherham out of the third round of the Carabao Cup, courtesy of a 2-1 win, we find ourselves kicking off in yet another top of the table clash. This time, it is Brentford, the unlikely leaders of the Premier League, who we host at Stamford Bridge for what is going to be our last game of this episode, and what a fabulous way to end it. It is a return to what I'm deeming at the moment my strongest starting 11. Costa starts in goal, Reece James at right back, Tamori and Fofana partner each other in the centre of my defence, with Ben Chilwell starting on the left hand side. Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez are in midfield, with Moussa Diaby, Baumgartner and Sancho playing in behind Christopher Nkunku up front. Diaby into Enzo Fernandez, who's come short and trying to wriggle away from the challenge of the Brentford midfield here, and he does a brilliant job of doing so and feeds it into Moussa Diaby, who stayed on side. And Nkunku strikes with his right. What a save from Raya. What a fabulous save from the Brentford goalkeeper, who somehow finds himself playing back at the London club after his loan move to Arsenal in real life. Baumgartner picks it up again though. This has been a fabulous start to this game so far. Ben Chilwell picks it up on the left hand side. He's going to try and look surely to go. Surely does. finds Sancho, cuts it in on his right. Good defending to hold up the ball, but Sancho wriggles away and strikes with his right. And David Raya with another brilliant save inside the opening 10 minutes. De Silva tries to dink it forward, but it's well intercepted by Enzo Fernandez. Caicedo into Sancho. Sancho into Moussa Diaby, who's coming to central. And now it's Caicedo with his right foot. What a strike from the central defensive midfielder. Well, an unlikely man to find himself in an advanced position. But my word, what a finish from a defensive player. Absolutely lashed it into the top left-hand corner and gave Raya no chance. He fires us into a 1-0 lead. Veerman, lovely ball over the top looking for Mbuemo, and he beats Ben Chilwell to it, and now he beats him into the penalty area. Fofana tried to come across, did a really good job of holding him up there. That was a fabulous piece of defending from the Frenchman, and now Sancho can try and break to Tomori. Tomori goes out wide to Reece James. He's trying to feed it into Christopher Nkunku, tried to play it into the path of Moussa Diaby, couldn't find him, but Reece James will pick it back up again. He's under a bit of pressure here, but manages to wriggle away from a couple of challenges. Diaby picks it up, he's trying to shift it onto that dangerous left foot. Can't quite do the business though, and Nkunku now trying to get into the penalty area. Brentford are defending well, and they've got men back here. Enzo Fernandez instead is going to try and feed it out wide to Ben Chilwell. We're going to try and play a first-time ball right the way over to the back post. Looking for Christopher Nkunku. It is cleared away by the Brentford defence. Fofana to try and bring this one out of defence for us here, and doesn't really have too many options, but instead finds a lovely ball into the path of Moises Caicedo. He tries to find a ball into Diaby. I'm going to try and feed this down the line into Reece James. Cuts back inside looking for Enzo Fernandez. He can release Christopher Nkunku. Tries to get into the box. He's crowded out. And eventually Brentford just about managed to get it clear. Enzo Fernandez heads down into Moussa Diaby. It's been all Chelsea so far. Christopher Nkunku with a lovely piece of footwork here. Then Nkunku shifts it onto his right. Another big save from David Raya. And if it wasn't for the Spaniards, we would surely be more than one goal up here as the referee blows for half-time. Well, surely Brentford have got to try and do something here in the second half. We have absolutely battered them in the first, but we only have one goal to show for it. Mbuemo tried to go down the right-hand side, but Jadon Sancho read that one well, and now cuts back in looking for a pass of his own. Instead finds Tomori. Nice ball. He's going to go out wide to Reece James. We stretched the play really well here. Diaby going to try and look for a ball back to Reece James. Well intercepted. Brentford can now go end-to-end stuff here at the start of the second half, and Diop has got past Tomori like he wasn't even there, and now he drives into the heart of my box, and Fofana yet again comes across. Brilliant defending. Brentford have a corner here. They've started off this second half far better than they did the first. They're going to fire it into the penalty spot. It's headed away by one of the smallest men on the pitch in Moussa Diaby, and now Baumgartner will try and bring this ball forward. I was going to try and feed it into Christopher Nkunku, but he just didn't have the pace to get away from the Brentford defence, and in the end they managed to get it clear. Marisic into Brobby. Brobby, lovely pass into Mbuemo. Mbuemo here going to cut it back into Brobby, who strikes. He scores. Brentford back on level terms. Well, I said after all of our good work in the first half, we did only have one goal to separate the two teams. And just like that, our lead is cut. It's frustration all round for me. It's 1-1 here at Stamford Bridge. Tomori feeds it out wide to Reece James. Again, trying to stretch the play here. And Reece James finds Enzo Fernandez, who bursts into the box. Lovely footwork. What a save again from David Raya. My word, he has kept Brentford in this game. Down out for Brentford now. Wriggling away from a couple of challenges inside my midfield. Fofana again is there to make the interception and to release Jadon Sancho. He finds Nicholas Jackson on as a sub. Conor Gallagher now trying to feed in Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez into Moussa Diaby. He can drive into the box and strike with his right. And what a fine strike it was. Collins into Veerman. Now Brentford desperately trying to get a foothold back into this game. And Mbuemo's almost going to give it to them with Martin. And he strikes it wide. It's a huge opportunity that goes begging for Brentford. Well, we've got less than 5 minutes here plus stoppage time to try and hold on. After getting ourselves back into the lead, we do not want to throw it away now. It's Ben Chilwell who's just going to bring it back into surely my man of the match, Fofana. He has been sensational today. An absolute rock at the heart of my defence. It's Reece James who goes short. It's well won by Brentford. Is this going to be their last opportunity to attack? No, it isn't. The referee blows for full time. Well, I shake the hand of Thomas Frank. After another hard-fought victory, the Brentford players can't believe it after a much improved second half. But it was that man's goal, Moussa Diaby, yet again coming to our rescue and scoring another brilliant goal in a Chelsea shirt. Full time here at Stamford Bridge, it finishes Chelsea 2, Brentford 1. Well, it was a surprise to see Caicedo scoring his first goal of the season, but it was definitely no surprise to see this man Moussa Diaby step up to the plate when I needed him to yet again. His third Premier League goal of the campaign, his fourth goal overall in all competitions in a Chelsea shirt. It has been a great start to life in his debut season. But whilst that goal may have lifted the morale of the entire squad, then perhaps one of the most surprising things I have seen in FIFA, we have just won the game, yet we have dropped from third place into fifth, and we are level on points. The first 5 teams in the league are all level on points. It just goes to show how important goal difference is going to be this season. And just talking about that, Brentford, after one game, have gone from top of the table all the way down to 7th. An unbelievable turn of events. But with more Champions League football still to look forward to, a huge transfer budget still to dip into, and some lofty expectations still resting on my shoulders, you do not want to miss the very next episode. But that is it for today's episode. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you again next time.